we take the last case study. Let's look into Dove's campaign impact and how we are measuring the impact. When a brand like Dove launches a campaign, its intent goes beyond impressions or slogans or headlines. Dove's work is measured by impact, not only by how many saw the message, but how many felt, shared, and ultimately changed their own behavior. Measuring impact means moving beyond reach to meaningful outcomes. Today, we'll explore how Dove measures campaign impact. What do they track? Why does it matter to them? And how it connects to storytelling. Question is, what does impact mean? Remember, impact is not views, not likes, not clicks. Then what is impact? Impact is changes in the mindset, behavioral shifts of consumer, cultural conversations between multiple groups of people, trust, blind trust on a brand, and building long-term affinity. In Dove campaigns, impact measurement prioritizes 1. Emotional resonance. 2. Conversation lift. How many people are talking about Dove? Brand perception shift. Dove changed the perception of soap. Share of voice in a cultural context. So it becomes both qualitative as well as quantitative metrics for understanding the impact of a Dove campaign. Let's look into its narrative focus. I shall give you the link. Go through this ads.
I always thought people were so cute when they have the little cheeks and they're like rosy, but mine are pretty plain. If I was gonna change one feature about my face, I would say that I would want fuller lips.
I'm definitely a person that looks tired when I'm tired, and when people say that, I immediately am like, oh man. I'm starting to already get little crow's feet and stuff, which like my mom has, so yeah.
I'm a forensic artist. I was trained at the FBI Academy in 1993 in composite art. Worked for the San Jose Police Department as the police artist from 1995 to 2011.
We didn't really know what we were doing, so that was nerve-wracking for everyone.
I showed up to a place I'd never been and walked into this big warehouse, and at the very end there was a guy with his back to me with a drafting board.
I had a curtain separating me so that I don't see him. We'll begin. First of all, tell me about your hair.
Brown, long, I guess a little bit past my shoulders.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
Yeah, they're brown eyebrows, dark brown eyebrows.
Okay.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
I guess I haven't really compared it to anyone else's chin, but especially when like I smile, I just feel like it kind of protrudes a little bit.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
You sort of realize, oh man, now I have to talk about myself and think about my looks.
I'm 40, so I'm starting to get a little bit of the crow's feet thing going on.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
I still didn't know. All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin was a nice, thin chin.
The women were really critical about moles or scars or things like that, and yet they were describing just a normal, beautiful person.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke and were very expressive.
The length of the nose, what is that like?
Short.
Short.
Yeah, cute nose.
Her face was fairly thin.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
Okay. So here we go. So this is your self-described image. And then somebody else described you and I did this sketch.
I have this whole thing about having dark circles and crow's feet around my eyes, and that was not part of the sketch at all that The Stranger did. The Stranger's was a little more like gentle.
It's pretty different. Which is very strange. She looks closed off and fatter. She just looks kind of shut down. Sadder, too. The second one is more beautiful.
You think they're catching more of that from you?
Yeah. She looks more open and friendly and happy. I've come a long way in how I see myself, but I think I still have some way to go.
So that's. I have some work to do on myself.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chloe's perception was so clearly different. Her picture looked like somebody I thought I would want to talk to and be friends with, like a happy, light, much younger, much brighter person.
He really did do exactly what I told him. Is that what I'm telling people? Is that how I think people should treat me? I don't want that.
I almost looked like I had described myself as someone that was angry and dark. It really affected me. I think it's going to affect me for a long time. It's troubling. I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Our self-perceptions are generally kind of harsh and unbecoming when really that's not how the world sees us. We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right, and we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
campaigns of Dove focus not on the product features, but on human perception and confidence. How does Dove measure impact? What are the metrics that they're using? First, the emotional engagement metrics. In this, they are taking a note of every sentimental comment that is being put in the reviews. Share of emotional keywords. There are multiple social listening tools which are listening to all these words that are being shared further ahead. Let's take an example. A high volume of comments which contain words like confidence, identity, self-worth. What does it indicate, this kind of a conversation? It indicates emotional resonance. It is much deeper indicator than just a like. What do you understand now by conversation lift? There are mentions, right, before the ad, and there are mentions after the campaign launch. So in the digital world, everything goes back to performance metrics. Hashtag usage trends. How much did media cover us in terms of volume analysis? If the conversation is about real beauty, remember the ad is all about real beauty, and it increases significantly post-campaign, lots of groups of people talking, lots of women talking, then it definitely is a cultural impact. How do we measure brand perception shift? Pre and post-campaign surveys. This is a very age-old technique, but it still prevails and probably is one of the most strongest techniques. Sentiment analysis. There are multiple tools to study this. Brand association studies. Dove often uses brand tracking tools that ask audiences, how does Dove make you feel? A very simple question. Do you associate Dove with empowerment? Now here it becomes a cultural shift. The shift before and after becomes a perfectly measurable impact in terms of data points. The behavioral shift metrics could go back to website resource engagement. Dove Self-Esteem Project, which was launched through a microsite on their own website, and its participation which multiplied overnight, can show a data point. Downloads of learning material which is available on the website, and time spent on the educational content that is available. What does this indicate? It indicates not just attention from the customer, but it also indicates a veritable action from the consumer for the brand Dove. Impact measurement can be done on dashboard also. They can create dashboards and you can see everything happening real time. What do you see in this? You can see sentiment curves. You can see conversation peaks. The more people talk, the more conversation we can map, either through Instagram or through Facebook. Perception shifts, which happens through the reviews, and engagement maps when it happens when we are sharing the ads further ahead. Why these metrics matter? Unlike a typical digital campaign, Dove's message is cultural, emotional, and societal. So metrics must capture not just the reach, not just simple data points, but the relevance of those data points. Thereby, what are the words that are being used is very important to understand the sentiment of the customer. Not just the impressions, but the interpretation of that ad. So we start writing in the reviews. that is important. For brands that build meaning, impact measurement reveals whether the story actually landed, both emotionally and socially, within the target audience. And if it does, we have a runaway success. We were talking about feedback loops just in the earlier video. Dove uses these feedback loops during campaign release, during audience reaction, for social media listening, for sentiment analysis, for behavioral metrics, for narrative adjustments. Remember, the brand has to listen and adapt, hence narrative adjustment. Sometimes it also takes into context and accepts what the reviewers are talking about and includes them in the educational content. This cycle does not end when the ad stops airing. It informs future storytelling and social commitment from Dove's end also. Dove Real Beauty Sketches. This was one of the most elaborative experiments done by Dove, and it has come out to be beautiful. This campaign became one of the most viral, emotional brand narratives in the world. What were the impact metrics? 10+ million views in first week. In the first week of the release, massive share of positive sentiment. It became an academic case study. There was press coverage, almost viral. It initiated dialogues on self-image of a woman beyond a beauty product. Hence, the impact which was seen in the conversation had scale as well as depth, not just sales. And that's what makes Dove different. Quantitative and qualitative balance has to be created when impact measurement is being done. You can have data dashboards. You can have social listening insights. You can have strategic interpretation, understanding. But you will also have to look into a spike into social conversation, which is emotional, which is quantitative, which is qualitative, A rise in brand favorability, increased engagement with empowerment content. So we are looking both into metrics which are number oriented and metrics which come out as an emotional outpour. You also want to read why people are discussing this particular campaign, how people are relating to this message, what broader cultural conversations are being triggered because of this particular campaign. That is brand intelligence. Before I close this, let me tell you, brand impact is not an afterthought. It is a strategic output of narrative design. Dove's campaign show stories can shift culture. Metrics can reflect meaning. Impact is measurable at emotional level, at the social level, and at the behavioral level. For brands aiming for purpose and profit, measurement must capture meaning, not just data points. And therein lies the future of brand storytelling. So, dear learners, in this particular subject where we are talking about marketing through stories, leading with brand storytelling, compelling storytelling, we started with advertisements. How storytelling and advertisements make a difference. We went into understanding the neural part of our brain and how it reacts, responds to advertisements. We went into understanding why storytelling is so important even in a presentation, even in pitches and even in thought leadership, articles or when a leader is standing and talking. A story makes a difference. Storytelling is an art. Storytelling is equally a science. Storytelling is equally mathematics today because of the data points that we gather from multiple ends. It can only help us refine the art of storytelling. Every brand in this world does a storytelling and sells their product to us, but we do not feel that they're selling a product to us, but they're selling a small chip of their heart to us. And that's what Dove says, that's what Apple says, that's what Nike says, that's what Maggie says. So for all the brands in this world and the next, and for the learners, storytelling is a must if you want to succeed in brand and in communication management. Good luck and all the best.